My name is John, and this is my good buddy Andy, and you're listening to Packers Blitz podcast. The podcast is hosted by two diehard Packer fans who survived the dark times of Packer football during the 1980s and lived to talk about it. This podcast, hey, we're always dedicated to the greatest fans of all, Packer fans. So, Andy, all right, Packer Blitz fans, we're going to be nice to Andy because Andy watched the Bucs game. The Miami Heat really took it to us. So Andy is going to do his best to get through this. And I know he can because he's a professional. But Andy, how are you feeling?
Awful. Just awful, John. Awful. It was a total debacle. Total debacle.
There we go. Debacle, people.
Pretty much the entire game, Miami was shooting about 58% from the field. 58%. And they kept bringing it up over and over and over again. So basically, the Bucs unfortunately didn't show up in the first game. Getting that home court advantage didn't mean squat. And on top of everything else, Giannis got hurt. I guess he has a lower back contusion, whatever that means. I'm not sure if it was his tailbone or lower back or both, but he landed on the floor really hard and had to leave the game. So that did not bode well for the Bucs in the first game. But yes, there's some more games to play, and we'll see what happens. So. Yeah, trying to stay positive, but I finally get to watch a game. I finally get to watch a Bucs game, and they have a stinker. So
that's okay. It's a 7-game series. We're moving on. We're talking Packers, but before, it's been a weird day, right, Andy, with the weather. What's going on?
Oh my gosh!
So now we're weathermen, but
right, yeah. This may just sound like small talk, but. How about that Wisconsin weather we've been having lately, John?
Yeah.
With global warming, Wisconsin's becoming the new Florida.
Yeah, it was
For
the 80s.
People listening out there in Australia, Canada, Europe, and places unknown, Madison, Wisconsin.
Not West.
Yes, Wisconsin is located approximately 1,300 miles due northwest of Orlando, Florida. This past week or so, Wisconsin has been experiencing low 80-degree temperatures and lots of sunshine. In April, this normally does not happen very often in Wisconsin. So record temps this week. It feels temperature-wise like the Packers should be ready already in summer camp and playing preseason games.
To be training.
So, just a quick weather update. So I wrote that a couple days ago when we pretty much had a week of 80s, and but today it's currently 33 degrees. So it dropped about 50 degrees. And it's snowing.
Degrees. And
John,
it's the
Wisconsin weather. Yes, one day 80 degrees, the next day 30. Yes, I guess that's why Lambeau Field is called the frozen tundra, even in April. So John, any comment about the great weather in Wisconsin that we've been having lately in April, earlier this week, but not today?
I lived in Wisconsin all my life. My birthday is coming up, and also your son Zach's birthday. We had to share the same birthday, April 28th.
Yeah, happy birthday coming up.
Happy birthday! Well, thank you, buddy, and happy birthday, Zach. It snowed on my birthday about 5 years ago. I totally remember that. I got up, looked out, went, but it's snowing, and my wife was like, "That's really weird." I'm like, yeah, but that's Wisconsin weather. So there you go. There's your update for people in Australia and foreign countries who listen to Packers and are Packer fans. Yeah, it's crazy here. So, all right. So, Andy, I know what Zach said, and I know what other Packer fans are sick of Rodgers trade talk, but we're going to do it anyway. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's been, John, it's basically, this is totally off the cuff, but we need some content. It's been a few weeks and really a lot really hasn't happened. So, I read a few articles and I'm like, had some epiphanies. So, we're just going to go for it. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Packers, Aaron Rodgers, and all the stuff that actually hasn't been happening on the trade front that everybody wants to find out what's going to happen. What's going to be the resolution with that? So before we start, before I start, I just wanted to apologize to all the Packer fans that listen to Packers Blitz. During episode 20, my explanation of the pending trade between the Jets and the Packers for the services of the future NFL Hall of Fame quarterback Aaron Rodgers totally sucked. Thus, I would like to give a word-for-word explanation of the current status of that whole fiasco so I don't royally screw it up again. John, any quick comments on that rant I just gave about last time? I know you're trying to make me feel better, but I don't think I explained it very well. All the trade compensation, all that stuff. But I'm going to try to right
now. Because they're probably going, no one understands the trade, Andy. So don't feel bad. No one gets it.
Right.
But we're going to try to explain it in more concise terms so everyone can just say, okay.
Yep,
we're going to give we're going to drop
the status word for word right now.
Yes.
Okay. So as of today, as of today, there are several reasons that the trade negotiations between the Packers organization and the Jets front office, and in particularly owner Woody Johnson, are at a standstill. So here are the reasons for that standstill. Number one, the Jets are saying no to a straight giving up of draft capital, especially a number one pick. That pick or picks would have no contingencies whatsoever. So the Jets, look at the Denver Broncos and all of the assets Denver gave up for Russell Wilson. Now, Seattle has Denver's number 5 pick in the first round because that crashed and burned. They look at the LA Rams and Matt Stafford's balky elbow. Now Detroit is sitting at number 6. Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports recently reported that Green Bay wants a 2023 second-round pick and a 2024 first-round pick from New York in exchange for Rodgers. Straight up, no contingencies. The Jets, however, don't want to part ways with a first-round pick for a quarterback who may well retire after the 2023 season. The second reason, according to Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports, and I quote, the Jets are a bit worried about giving up the farm for Aaron Rodgers because Aaron went on the Pat McAfee show and said, I'm 90% retired, or I was 90% retired when I went into the darkness retreat. I think it scared Woody. And by Woody, he was talking about Woody, the owner for the Jets. In essence, the Jets owner, Woody Johnson, was a bit put off by Rodgers' comments, further complicating trade compensation. Third reason. For weeks, NFL fans have been under the impression that Green Bay is stalling trade talks with New York. While that may be true, the Packers aren't the only guilty party. Number fourth reason, the trade hasn't materialized due to the Jets having reservations about Rodgers' long-term commitment to their team, the Packers wanting fair and definite trade compensation, and Aaron Rodgers announcing that he wants to play for the Jets last month, and then declaring that he was 90% retired at the same time. Rodgers is to blame because of what he said. He really needs to say something to the effect that he will definitely play for the Jets for 2 more years. Period. It really comes back to what John and I said in episode 20 about how Aaron needs a better circle of friends who give him sound advice. Fifth reason, or fifth explanation of where we're at with this whole trade debacle. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported this week that both sides appear to be dug in. And that's a quote from Adam. Both sides appear to be dug in. John, it's been fascinating to see how this situation unfolds and finally ends. Hopefully, that was a better explanation of where we are at. Any thoughts, John?
Yes, that is a great explanation, and it still makes no sense. Thank you for that.
Nope.
Again, my thing is, I get what the Jets are saying. He might retire next year, but you know what? That's the risk you take. You started to talk to him. You didn't have to. There are other quarterbacks on the market, including Kirk Cousins, the Costco hot dog. His contract comes due next year. He's a free agent, okay? So you go to Kirk Cousins. You could have done Derek Carr. Hey, Lamar Jackson's still out there. There are 3 guys I just named that you can get that is probably going to play 3, maybe 4 more years. When you know Aaron Rodgers has said all along, when I don't feel like playing, I'm done. So, Jets, you're to blame on this, okay? And I heard, which is kind of funny, David Bakhtiari, who I love because he's so funny. He did went on this one podcast called Bussin' with the Boys. You can listen to it because we love to promote, if it's a good podcast, we love to promote it here on Packers Blitz. And he was absolutely hilarious. He said, he was like making fun of Rodgers and saying, it's not our problem anymore. Rodgers is the Jets' problem. But he was also talking from the heart, and he said, how much he's going to miss him, and how much of a leader he was. But he said something. Let's make this even worse. He said that he believes that the Packers organization would eat Rodgers' contract if they had to. Just say, you know what? Okay, I'm out. We're all done here. If that happens, Andy, I am literally going to pick you up, and we are going to Lambeau Field, and we're going to grab Goody and Murphy and kick the crap out of them, because that would be horrible.
But it's going to be that secret pack, John. That secret pack that we're going to make.
Oh, my God. and being that Murphy, again, who's saying the same dumb things, but like Andy and I talked about before, people got to Murphy, I believe, and just said, will you shut up? We just tell him it's secret, or you don't want to talk about it, or, So this whole thing, to me, is ridiculous for what I think we're going to get. That you said, Andy, some other Packer Blitz friends have told us, we'll be lucky to get a 2nd-round pick when everything is done, said and done, which to me is insane that we went through all of this for a 2nd-round pick. Like, come on. So, all right, that's it. We've explained it, people.
Well, I do have one more.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I do have one more
go.
thing. Just one more thing.
So,
on. I just got to get it off my chest.
Okay, just do it.
Yeah. It was a done deal. I really think it was between the Jets and the Packers. 2nd-round pick in 2023, 1st-round pick in 2024.
Yep.
And then, unfortunately, Aaron opened up his big mouth. And, I really think that's what I've been hearing from sources out there. And I don't have inside sources. I'm not saying that. But I'm telling you, I've heard it from enough people now on enough podcasts and programs that I listen to that if Rodgers wouldn't have did what he did and said what he did, I think the deal would have already been done. And now that he did, the Jets want some contingencies put in to make sure they get, again, that value, and they don't want to give up that first round pick in 2024 unless there's contingencies attached to it. And thanks, Aaron. So yeah.
So we want to tell Aaron Rodgers to shut up. And
so I'm going to continue to poke fun a little bit at Aaron. And we got a couple more segments coming up that hopefully everybody will enjoy. But I read some articles.
Poked fun of him.
Yeah.
You already poked fun of him with making him the bride in the marriage from our last episode. He was the bride, correct? He was the bride in the Packer marriage here, and why?
Yeah.
Well,
I got a couple more things. So we're going to do that right now. Why not?
Let's talk about your ghosted, because this is very funny too. This is very good.
Okay. I recently read an article about an interview of actors Ana de Armas and Chris Evans about their upcoming movie, Ghosted. The lovely and talented actress Ana de Armas has starred in the Marilyn Monroe biopic Blonde, Blade Runner 2049, and Knives Out. The actor Chris Evans has portrayed Captain America in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They actually worked together on Knives Out, fantastic movie, by the way, and most recently The Gray Man, with much success. So anywho, during that interview about their project Ghosted, they were asked questions on whether or not they had ever been ghosted or had ever ghosted anyone. Now, I thought that they were talking about actually seeing a ghost or apparition. It reminded me of John's other podcast, Dairyland Frights. However, I was totally wrong about what ghosted really means. For those who need a refresher on what ghosting is, it's a dating trend where one person just suddenly cuts off all contact and practically disappears. No response, no acknowledgement, and nothing to indicate that they even exist anymore. Hence the name ghosting. Then it struck me. The Packers have been ghosted by Aaron Rodgers. And to some extent, Packers Nation has been ghosted by Aaron too. Let me explain myself. Ghosting can be quite psychologically damaging to have someone you were interested in just ditch you and disappear without warning or explanation. And it even happens to famous people too. It even happened to Ana de Armas. Chris Evans mentioned that he would rather be ghosted, as you could just assume they maybe changed their number. That's a quote from him. They maybe changed their number, and tell yourself there was a breakdown in communication. Mm-hmm. Captain America went on to say that at least with ghosting, there was some ambiguity, as he said. Ambiguity. And it was better than this is what he said too, slow tortured drip of a person slowly fading away in your life. That person just texts you less and less, as it means they want nothing to do with me and there's no mistaking it. Apparently, this is called Caspering.
Oh.
So named after the Casper the Friendly Ghost titular character. Caspering is a more friendly type of ghosting where you steadily fade away instead of dropping off the face of the earth entirely. In conclusion, I guess that Aaron Rodgers has already ghosted Mark Murphy and the entire Packers organization. Aaron is currently Caspering Packers fans and slowly fading away. John, do you think that the Packers organization was ghosted by Aaron Rodgers? Is he still ghosting them? Is it more Caspering? What do you think of that one?
All right.
Any
I have
thoughts,
to do this
comments?
every podcast. I have to do this every podcast when it comes to Mark Murphy.
I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that?
Mark Murphy.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Yes and no. So here's the thing with Aaron Rodgers. He should be a lawyer because when we did our episode with your son, Zach, Zach said, he's so convincing when he's talking to you. He's like, well, I didn't have my phone and, my phone was in a shed and I got one bar. And I was like, but remember what we said, Andy. Aaron Rodgers said, look, if you just want to move on, just tell me you want to move on, then I will go to my retreat and I can think about it. And either I'm going to come back and I'm going to go like, yes, I want to play. Can we work this out? Or I'm retired. Let's move on. But again, it's just this passive aggressive, weird going back and forth. Just somebody do something, right? Because we've all been in there where we like have talked to somebody, would it be a friend or maybe a distant family member, and they do Casper, right? Where they're just like, hey, let's go out and grab dinner sometime. Like, hey, great. When do you want to do that? Oh, I'll let you know. And you just go, okay. And you get back to them and you go, hey, I got this Friday open. You open Friday? I'll let you know. This is exactly what's happened with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. We're the guys being ghosted. All Packer fans and Packer Nation, they keep telling us, right? We'll let you know. Yeah, okay, see ya. And it's ridiculous. All right, let's just everybody just move on and get this done and take care of it. And the Jets, again, like I said, hey, Jets fans, you got yourself into this mess, so you get yourself out. All right, so either say, I'm done, we're going to get somebody else, or, you just got to say, this is what we're going to do, and we'll take them, whatever that is. So that's it for me. I just think it's super funny, though. I just think it's ridiculous that grown men are acting like this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Ugh.
Well, we're not gonna we're gonna keep talking about it though now. Let's double down.
Because
let's poke some more fun at Aaron.
You are tripling down on this because
why not?
Explain to me this. You kind of okay, you've convinced me in the past. You have some really good analogies, or whatever you want to call them. But this one, he's a torpedo? This is what I want to hear. So please tell me why Aaron Rodgers is a torpedo.
I will.
Great.
John and all you Packer fans out there, remember the board game Battleship? If you haven't played it yet, you need to. You really need to.
It's
basically
fun.
The premise of the game is to torpedo or hit all of your opponent's ships multiple times and sink them all. The player that does that wins the game. So, John, fans, what is the line that you are supposed to definitely say when your opponent torpedoes your last ship and sinks it, thus winning the game? John, what's the line?
You sunk my battleship.
Exactly. So, bear with me a moment. I want to give you that analogy. Give you another analogy. Aaron Rodgers and his comments on the Pat McAfee show were the torpedoes that hit. The trade between the Packers for draft picks and the Jets for Aaron Rodgers is the battleship. The Green Bay Packers should now be saying, you You sunk my battleship. In essence, Aaron Rodgers has single-handedly torpedoed this trade. John, did you like the game Battleship? Did you like my analogy there?
When I used to play it, did a little sonar there.
Oh, that's awesome. I was hoping you had something.
Here we go. There's your best. Yes, it was a very fun game until they screwed it up and made it electronic.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
They do, if you go to certain places, you can find the old ones with the pegs and everything. But they made it electronic, and you had to put batteries in it. And I was playing with my nephew years ago with this, and like the batteries went out and the board kind of, but still a fun game. That's a good analogy. People, I know what you want us to say and be like, okay, can we just move on with this? And yes, we are going to move on to something, thank you, that's going to be a lot better to talk about. And that is our topic of the week, Packers Blitz topic of the week, the top 10 greatest Packers ever. So now we're talking, right, buddy? This is something we can sink our teeth in and be like, no more of this Rodgers drama.
Yeah, we're moving on from Rodgers.
Yes.
Maybe in a second.
Well, in a more positive light.
Okay, correct. So as we Packer fans all know, the Green Bay Packers have a long, rich, and illustrious history. Yes. Recently, A-Rod said it was debatable, his words, whether he was the greatest Packer of all time. He was indicating that he might be the best of all time. Well, Matt Verderami, I believe his name is, of Sports Illustrated, interviewed a Packers historian and a former Packers GM and came up with his list of the top 10 Packers to have ever played for the green and gold. And here are his very interesting rankings. John, you want me to rattle these off? So top 10 Packers starting.
Why don't you rattle them off, and then I will,
chime in. Okay. So at number 10, we're working our way up to the number 1 Packer player of all time. At number 10, we have defensive end Reggie White.
Reggie White, Minister of Defense.
Yes, the Minister of Defense. Oh, I'm glad you added that, John. That's awesome. He was an extremely high-profile free agent to sign with the Pack. That doesn't happen very often.
No.
He won Super Bowl 31 with the Packers in 1996. Was NFL Defensive Player of the Year for the Packers in 1998, and had 68.5 sacks with the Pack. With the Packers overall, a lot more than that. I think he almost broke 100. I think he had like 99 or whatever. But and I could be way off on that figure, but he did have a nice hunk of them with the Packers. So at number 9, quarterback Bart
just really quick with Reggie White. I just want to give my greatest moment with Reggie White. Super Bowl 31 at the end, where he tossed the left tackle of the Patriots into the seats.
Signature move.
And he sacked Drew Brees twice in a row to seal the game.
Yeah.
That was I remember that like yesterday.
Yes.
Andy.
I mean, some of those right tackles could be, 300, 320 usually in that range.
One arm and tossed them
just tossed them aside like it was this is kind of old school, but like a rag doll. Just tossed them like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Get out of my way. He'd get up underneath them and just pick them up and toss them to the side.
Yeah,
incredible
the club
power.
Yeah.
Nobody could do that except for Reggie White. He was awesome.
Howie Long was close.
Rest in peace,
Long for the
Reggie.
Raiders. That was supposedly his move, but Reggie White perfected it. And I think Howie Long would agree with me. So
yeah, Howie did a lot of bull rushing
9.
though. He was powerful. He did a lot of bull rushing, but not like that. Not where he's just tossing people, 5 yards to the left so he could get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
At
so
number
Bart
9.
Starr, number 9.
Yeah, quarterback Bart Starr. We're going to talk about this, by the way, because I think that's way not high enough.
No.
But this is the rankings that Sports Illustrated had, fans. This is not our rankings.
They're wrong.
Yeah, and on this one, I think they're definitely wrong. Because Bart Starr, just one of the most iconic players for the Packers, if not the most iconic player. And it didn't matter whether he was a quarterback or not. Just a great ambassador for the game and for the Packers franchise. Oh my gosh, I don't even know why they put him that high. Yeah. So he amazing. Bart was drafted in 1956 in the 17th round. Yes, back then they had, I don't know how many rounds, but 17th round. He played 16 seasons, was league MVP in 1966, and had 5 titles for Titletown, including
Tom Brady.
including 2 Super Bowls against the Chiefs and the Raiders. At number 8.
Oh, just really quick. I want to tell a really quick story with this.
Go right ahead.
I love. So there's this HBO documentary, Lombardi, and I think it's on YouTube for free now. I'm not really sure, but so this is why I love Bart Starr. So at the height of the Packers' success with Vince Lombardi, Bart Starr was at practice, and he wasn't having a great practice. And Vince Lombardi was all over him. He's cussing Bart Starr out, and all the other players were like, "Ooh, this is not good." So after practice, and this is again what tells you what kind of cojones Bart Starr has. He marches into Vince Lombardi's office. You do not do that, by the way. He marches into the Lombardi's office, slams the door, gets in Lombardi's face and says, "Don't you ever, ever cuss me out in front of the players again." And Lombardi's like, "Whoa, okay." And then he's like, "If you have something to say about my play, we do it in private. You got it." And he storms out, right? And he's thinking, Bart Starr goes home that night and he tells his wife, "Yeah, we're probably going to be gone, so you might as well start packing." And his wife's like, "Well, why?" And he goes, "Well, kind of chewed out the coach today." And she goes, "Oh, okay." So Bart Starr goes to practice the next morning thinking he's done. They're going to trade him. And so he goes to practice, everything's okay, and he drops back and he throws this low pass, a really bad pass to Max McGee. And everybody's ready for Vince Lombardi just to lose it. And they all look over at Vince Lombardi, and Vince Lombardi just smiles and just nods his head. And Bart Starr goes back to the huddle, and everybody gets in the huddle, and they all turn to Bart Starr and they go, "What did you say to him?" He goes, "Don't worry, we'll be fine, guys." And from that point on, they were a marriage made in heaven. But I just love that story, to see Bart Starr just chew Vince Lombardi's butt off because he was mad at him. So it's a great story, and Bart Starr tells that story up until his passing, and people are like, "Wow, that's amazing." So that's why I love Bart Starr too. That takes a lot of guts. A lot of guts.
Yeah, and Packers fans, Bart Starr seemed to be a really nice guy too.
He was super nice guy.
Right. So that was like not what he normally would do. That's a little bit against the grain for him.
Very against
I don't know if that's the right comparison.
Yes,
but
that's not his personality. So.
Right. Yeah. So Sports Illustrated had Bart Starr at number 9. Reggie White was 10. Before I move on, I just wanted to give Reggie a little bit of credit. He had 198 sacks overall. So about a third of them.
Bruce Smith, by the way, beat him, and Bruce Smith is the number 1 sack guy. So,
right. Yeah. There was a football player for the Giants, Strahan, I think, that beat them both, right?
Oh, Strahan beat him in the regular season, for 22 sacks. Remember the sack against Brett Favre? Everybody was pissed.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because Brett just settled down. He just touched him. Okay,
touched him. That was a sad.
Yeah,
okay.
And I figure while I just love Reggie White, by the way. And they said Sports Illustrated, like, this wasn't like his entire career we were just talking about. It's just with the Packers, and they had him at number 10. Otherwise, he'd be way higher. For the NFL, he actually might be in the top 10 for the NFL as well. Possibly. So anyway, while I got this up, he had 1,112 tackles for a defensive end. Seriously? 1,112 tackles. Holy cow. 33 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. So I figured I'd just say that. He was one of the best defensive ends, if not the best ever. Yeah, people were really surprised.
Due respect to Bruce Smith, but come on, Bruce. Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah. No, I mean, Reggie was a force. Force to be reckoned with. He was just amazing.
And he played in USFL for a little while too. People forget that. He played in the USFL for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Plus, I remember when he tore his one of his hamstrings, and he was still out there playing and still producing. And it was amazing that he was even playing, because I believe his hamstring was like, I knew it was torn. It might have been like ripped off the bone or something. I mean, it was just incredible that he was even playing. So we're moving on to a different defensive end now at number 8, the great Willie Davis. He was one of Bart's defensive teammates, played 10 years with Green Bay, made the all-decade team in the 1960s, was a NFL Hall of Famer, one of the best pass rushers of his era, and a 5-time first-team All-Pro. He was one of the best defensive players to ever play for the Green and Gold. So that was Willie Davis. Have any stories about Willie? I don't. No. I saw some clips of him, but yeah, I don't really have too much on him.
There was one story with Willie Davis that he married a white woman, and people lost their mind. And he was married to this woman for years.
I think I heard about this.
And Vince Lombardi, which is this is why I just love the Packers, especially Vince, even though he wasn't perfect. He said he basically went in, and there were some players grumbling about it in the Packers, and he went in and he told every Packer player, if you have a problem with Willie Davis marrying this woman, you're off my team. And that's what he told him. And he wasn't screwing around. Like, if anybody would have said something, he would have snapped his fingers and been like, you're gone. Even if it was Paul Hornung, who we're going to talk about next, who he loved as a son, by the way. That was an amazing story to me.
Yeah, actually, he was considered by Vince Lombardi to be the best football player he ever coached, Paul Hornung. Yeah, so running back Paul Hornung, he's at number 7. He also played 10 seasons, just like Willie Davis did with the Pack, although he never had a 1,000-yard rushing season. That's kind of,
that's interesting.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
And he was called the Golden Boy. So the Golden Boy landed at number 7 on the list.
Interesting. Okay.
I think out of all the players, I'm just going to add something, and we'll get into this in a little bit. I think out of the 10, that's probably the one I have the most problem with was Paul Hornung. Yeah. And there's been some stories about, Mr. Hornung and everything, and rest in peace. But I think he's a little bit high on this list, and to be quite honest, I don't know if I would have put him on it. But he's at number 7.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So any did you want to say anything about Paul Hornung?
No, the other thing about Paul Hornung was, this is something that few people know. So Vince Lombardi had a son who he treated he didn't treat very well. And that's in a book called When Pride Still Mattered, which you go out and get that book. It's written by a Wisconsin writer, and it's Vince Lombardi's biography. So Vince Lombardi loved Paul Hornung so much. He wished he had him as a son, and he would blatantly tell people that, oh, he's my son, and his real son would be like, I'm right here, Dad. It was like one of those weird and terrible situations where your dad is like, you're not my son, this guy is. But Paul Hornung, had some cool things. He was for gambling. He was suspended. He got caught gambling, not on the Packers, according to him, but he got caught for gambling, and he was a little bit of a playboy. Let's just say he liked to have a drink or two and a lady or two. So
he was a womanizer.
He was. So,
but so are a lot of athletes. So I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be judgmental of them, but so are a lot of.
It's a different time. So
he was called the Golden Boy for some, for a reason.
From Notre Dame. He was from Notre Dame.
Well, but also he had kind of golden look, golden locks. So he,
looking good.
So there was a reason he was called that. So,
so Herb Adderley, he's one of my favorite corners ever. He's a hell of a corner.
Yep, and he lands at number 6. He played with the Packers from 1961 to 1969. He was considered a true shutdown corner and another all-decade team member. He is widely considered the finest cornerback to ever wear a Packer uniform. And John, I don't think it's close. I think he actually is. But that's more of an indictment on the Packers, not really having like really, really stellar cornerbacks. But no, he was a fantastic player.
He was
nothing. I'm not taking away from him. He's definitely in the top 10 somewhere.
Yes, he's definitely.
And they have him placed at number 6. Whatever.
I agree.
Great player. Any Herb Adderley stories?
No,
doing great so far, John.
That. He was just a straight arrow.
Okay,
there was nothing. Never said anything bad about him. He was always a player that just would show up and just play. Man, he was just one of those few rare people that kept his mouth shut, kept out of trouble, and just played.
So another defensive back at number 5, safety Willie Wood. Another great player from the Lombardi era that played for 12 seasons. Phenomenal tackler, 8 Pro Bowls, and All-Pro first team 4 times. He is widely considered to be the best defensive player on those championship teams. Really a real playmaker, John. Made plays at opportune times. That's what great players do in the moment.
Yes.
So like in the big games, he made big plays. And that's probably why he might be one spot ahead of Herb Adderley. But I mean, really, you could just flip-flop those two. Yeah.
Yeah, they're neck and neck.
They're in our book. They should be basically on the same line. I don't know. They're really two great players, all-time greats. So
yes.
And any comments about Willie, or we're going to move on to number 4?
Great player.
So at number 4, right tackle Forrest Gregg, also former head coach for the Green Bay Packers as well. Okay, we won't get into that. But anyway, so Forrest Gregg, you could make a real argument. He could be ranked even higher than what he is at 4. He played 15 years for the Packers from 1956 to 1970 and made 7 first-team All-Pros, 6 at tackle, 1 at guard because he had to fill in for somebody because of injury. My father, Peter, called him one tough SOB.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd bring that up.
Yes, he was.
He had a, I don't know what, the killer instinct and the killer mentality, basically like to chew defensive linemen up and spit them out. He almost had a defensive player mentality, almost like a Ray Nitschke.
He did.
Except he was on.
Yes, he did.
He was on the other side of the of the line, and so he probably would have been a great inside linebacker for somebody.
Andy, there's a stat to him that few people know, and this is why you listen to Packers Blitz. He used to crack face mask with his forearm. He cracked in one season 5 face mask of the 5 opponents' face mask. So that hard plastic, he would come up with his forearm and just slam right in the guy's face and break his face mask.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is very interesting,
he holds
John.
the record for breaking face masks. Yeah.
So wait a minute. Let me get this straight. Breaking face masks.
Breaking face masks.
Is that even a thing normally?
No.
I don't think it is it? I mean, how
no,
people...
it isn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I guess my father was right with calling him one tough SOB.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So you would see people in the 60s.
On that one.
If you watch old footage, you watch old footage, they'll show players leaving the game and then the equipment guy drilling off the face mask and putting on a new face mask. And you're like, why are they doing that? And then I read an article about it. That Forrest Gregg would break people's face mask. And I'm like, damn, that's one tough SOB.
Yes. So at number 3, I'm just going to say it. My favorite Packer quarterback, Brett Favre.
Oh, come on.
At number 3, but that's a topic for another podcast.
We will do that.
Yeah, we have to one of these days. I mean,
yes, we will.
Talking to you, I do have more of an appreciation for Aaron Rodgers. We've been very blessed. We've had, those 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back. But my personal fave, he came to the Packers via trade with the Atlanta Falcons in 1992. The great GM for the Pack at the time, Ron Wolf, pulled off the trade of the decade.
Yeah,
maybe of all time.
Maybe of all time. Reggie White. Yeah,
I was going to write some more things in there for that. John, I was going to be like, man, the Atlanta Falcons, we stole him from them.
Absolutely.
And Ron had to give up a first-round pick for him.
Yep,
and Brett was a second-round pick, but he stole him to give up even a first-rounder for Brett Favre, considering the state of the franchise at the time, and to make such a bold move like that was just amazing.
Absolutely.
And boy, did it work out swimmingly for the Packers, because we were scuffling, weren't we? I think that's the right word for it, John, with finding a quarterback for decades. He just, Ron saved us, by pulling off that trade. And I wanted to give a shout out to Jerry Glanville. He used to be the head coach for the Atlanta Falcons, because he did not like Brett very much. And that's why that trade went through. Okay. So thanks, Jerry. I wasn't going to mention it, but I figured it better.
Jerry Glanville used to call him Mississippi, like, hey, Mississippi, what are you doing, Mississippi? You didn't even call him by his name. You just say, hey, Mississippi. Hey, Mississippi. I'd be like, what a jerk. And I'm like, get me out of here.
Well, I don't know what he was watching at during practice,
no idea.
But you cannot tell me Brett Favre wasn't Brett Favre when he was throwing to some of those wide receivers and tight ends. You can't tell me they couldn't have figured out what kind of athlete he was and what kind of arm he had. I mean, who gives up on a quarterback like that after, I think it was only one season. And he didn't sniff the field with Glanville as coach. He didn't even play.
No, he didn't.
I forget how many snaps. It wasn't even a dozen. So
he played like a few snaps on a garbage time. He wound up fumbling the ball or something like that.
Yeah,
here's a story about that.
It's typical Brett Favre stuff.
Brett Favre. Yeah. So here's
before you do that. Okay, go ahead.
No, okay. So it was super funny. So Brett Favre, he was not in the greatest of shape, but he used to come out in pregame because he knew he was not going to play. And he would throw the football from one end of the field to the other by just flicking his wrist. Like, people would like look at it and go, what? Like, he would literally just stand flat-footed, flick his wrist, and throw it into like the stands from back into the back end zone. Also, when he would get bored, the like third, fourth string receivers would be like, "Hey, can we practice?" He would throw the football so hard he would break their fingers. So there were these guys who were like third, fourth. They weren't going to make the team anyway. They would come in the training room and be like, "Oh, I broke my finger," and the trainer would be like, "What? Why? How did that happen?" He goes, "Oh, Brett was screwing around again. He broke my finger." So you're going, wait a minute. He's throwing the football into the, like, flicking his wrist. He's breaking fingers. He's a tough SOB, and we're just going to let him go? Like, wow. Glanville, that's why you're not in the NFL, or not for long, as he would like to say that. So that was just a funny story that I heard.
Yeah, that was. Thank you. So Brett went to 2 Super Bowls. He won 1. He had 3 straight MVP seasons from 1995 to 1997. I wanted to make sure I added that, but we're gonna move on to number 2. And,
my boy,
your guy, quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Packers Blitz fans, we know everything about him and all of his accolades, and John probably, well, maybe would even put him number 1.
Put him as number 1.
Yeah. So we're gonna, if you're all right, not talking too much more about Aaron Rodgers, we're gonna move on to number 1. And it's not, I'm not trying to slight Aaron, but we've talked about Aaron at nauseum.
We know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's great.
All right, so great. Hold on. Before you get to number 1, hold on.
Yeah.
Before you get to number 1,
need a drum roll or something?
I have to admit, no. I have to admit, this is a shocker. I never saw this coming. So without further ado, number 1 is, who is it, Andy?
Yeah, not Aaron Rodgers.
No.
SI puts wide receiver Don Hutson number 1.
Wow.
Number 1 Packer of all time. He spent 11 years with the Packers from 1935 to 1945. Nobody was more dominant at the receiver position during his time. Never has been and never will be. So very dominant player during his time. Jerry Rice is the greatest receiver ever by any metric. However, Don Hutson essentially created the wide receiver position. And so that's why they had Don Hutson as the number 1 Packer ever. John, any comments on that? I don't know. I was a little bit surprised. It's kind of hard sometimes to
he's a hell of a player, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Okay,
you got me in that. So I want to talk about the snubs. Is that okay, Andy?
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure I give Matt Verderami his due, and hopefully I didn't myrtleize his name. That's the list, though, of Packers legendary players, and his list of the 10. Do you want me to repeat them quick? Go down the list, or we're going to move on?
Go through the list really quick. Yeah.
Okay, so at number 10, Reggie White. Number 9, Bart Starr. Number 8, Willie Davis. Number 7, Paul Hornung, the Golden Boy. At number 6, Herb Adderley. At number 5, Willie Wood. At number 4, we have Forrest Gregg. Number 3, the awesome Brett Favre. At number 2, Aaron Rodgers. And at number 1, Don Hudson.
Great player, though. Great player.
So yeah, what changes would you make? Any omissions, changes? Yeah. I got some things with that. Just discuss now.
Yeah. So first of all, PackersBlitz80@gmail.com. That's PackersBlitz80@gmail.com. We want to hear you, Packer fans. You agree with this list, who you would add. So they left off 4 players, in my opinion.
Okay. I had 3, but go ahead.
I had 4.
Okay.
Ray Nitschke.
I'm sure you. Yes.
Ray Nitschke. Come on. He was one of the most dominant linebackers ever.
Yes.
So I don't know how that happened. Sterling
he
Sharp.
needed some dental work, though. I think he was missing his 2 front teeth.
He played a championship game with a broken leg. People, that's insane.
Gosh. Didn't Jack Youngblood do that for the Rams too?
Broken leg? I don't know.
Okay, whatever. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. Just keep talking about Ray Nitschke. He's awesome. He is iconic with the Packers.
Ray Nitschke, he played with a broken leg. He even had an interception. You can watch the footage of him intercepting the ball on a broken leg and hobbling down the field. Are you people insane? This guy just a tackling machine, and you forget it. You get in. He used to pick up running backs and slam them down. I mean, he was just football. All right.
Yes.
So,
middle linebacker. And everybody go watch The Longest Yard. He was in that movie. The Longest Yard has Burt Reynolds in it.
It's Burt Reynolds.
It's fantastic. That movie is so funny.
He's awesome.
And we're not talking about the remake of that.
No,
not the one with Chris Rock and Adam Sandler. Not that one. No, we're not talking about that one. We're talking about the original Longest Yard. Make sure you watch that one. Ray Nitschke's in that, and he is Ray Nitschke. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Make sure you watch that. So what's another player?
Moving on. Sterling Sharp. Are you insane?
Oh, yes.
Why he's not on this list? I get it. He couldn't play. He didn't play as long as these guys. But when he was out there, come on, who's better? Maybe Jerry Rice and him could go back to back and have some hell of a great game. Other than that, that's a short list, people. Just go on YouTube, watch his highlights, and you'll go like, why isn't he in the Hall of Fame? His brother is. Even his brother Shannon has said, my brother Sterling needs to be in the Hall of Fame. And he's been telling people for years. And the sports writers out there, if you're listening, put Sterling Sharp in the Hall of Fame. If you don't, you're crazy and you should lose your job. So that's all I have to say about Sterling Sharp.
Yes.
Anything on that, Andy?
No, you're spot on. Love Sterling Sharp. One thing Jerry would not do is go pancake a linebacker. I mean, Sterling could block.
Yeah, baby.
So he did everything. Not only was he a great route runner, pass catcher, getting off the line, so physical, just deceptively fast, smart, everything you could possibly want in a wide receiver. That was Sterling Sharp. Just a dominant player. One of the best at his position.
Yeah, so my next receiver still is dominant, not as big. James Lofton. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
He was with us in the 80s, before he went to the Bills.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. In fact, there was a time, this shows you how much we sucked in the 80s, Packer fans. If you remember, if you're Andy and I's age, James Lofton played defense. Yeah, he played safety because we were in a game, we had everyone hurt in the backfield, defensive backfield, and we had to switch some guys around, some linebackers, whatever. He went to the coach, which I believe was Forrest Gregg at the time, and said, I'll play. And Forrest Gregg was like, okay. That's like asking today, any of these star receivers, like Devontae Adams, and going, hey, Devontae Adams, go out and play safety. What do you think he's going to say? No, I'm not doing that. And people would lose their minds if they saw Devontae Adams out there. playing safety. So he just did everything he could for the Packers. So why is he not on this list, especially when he broke most of the records at that time?
Yep.
The other guy quickly, before I forget, is Donald Driver. I think he should be honorable mention because he is the number one receiver for the Packers. He holds the record. I don't understand why he's not on there. And he was a 7th round pick. So to make in the NFL from a 7th round pick and wind up winning the Super Bowl and becoming the receiving yardage guy, to me was leader and receiving yards for the Packers. Like, why isn't he on here? I think because he was not the guy that you thought of. He didn't have the talent of Lofton or the speed and power of Sterling Sharp.
Plus he wasn't in the top, probably even 5 or top 7 at his position ever.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's part
Charles
of it too.
Wood. Oh, my last guy, Charles Woodson. I know we picked him up for whatever.
Yep.
Come on. When he was in there, Defensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl champion, he made the Packers, oh my gosh, so much better on defense. He made plays that you would be like, how's he doing that? How did he catch that? How did he know the ball was going to be there? He was just such a student of the game. So those are my guys that should be on this list. And then, of course, Aaron Rodgers should be first. He should be number one because by far, in my opinion, he's the most talented, the smartest. Just to me, I will never in my lifetime never see another quarterback like that again for the Packers. It's just not going to happen. And I've come to peace with that, Andy. I'm all right.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with you with James Lofton. That would mean, I love Reggie White. Don't get me wrong. I think he would probably fall off the list, and I would maybe even take Horning off of it if it were me. But there was a safety that we knew and loved that was responsible for the Lambeau leap.
Yes, sir.
And who would that be?
Leroy Butler.
Right. So he was a fantastic safety, and one of the best safeties in the NFL for a long time, and a great Packer, a great Packer ambassador. So that he would be probably toward the top. He'd probably be in the top 15. I would guess maybe along with Sterling Sharp. Unfortunately, Sterling's career got cut short.
Yeah,
I believe he had Nope. Yeah, I think he had a neck injury. We had some players like we talked about, Nick Collins being one of them. That we just had some honorable mention. He would have been another NFL Hall of Famer, and
absolutely
Sterling definitely should be because he was one of the top wide receivers every single year he was playing.
Yep,
and very productive player and one of the best. And it's just too bad what happened to him, and it's too bad what happened to Nick Collins as well. The other player, I don't know if I would have put him in the top 10, but I did want to mention Jim Taylor, who also was a fullback. We were famous for the sweep, the runs where we would sweep. Yep. And, so you had Horning, and then you had Jim Taylor. And so Packers all-time great as well. I don't know. I would prefer actually to probably have him in that top 10 instead of Horning myself, but that's just in my opinion, because I know I would talk with my dad, and he loved the old Packer teams. He grew up with them. He would have been in his 20s, 30s, somewhere in there when he was watching them. But anyway, he has a great love for those old Packer teams because they were good. And so he would tell some stories about some of the running backs and whatnot, and Forrest Gregg, Ray Nitschke, Willie Wood, a lot of these great players.
And
he has
Jerry
a lot of great
Kramer.
stories.
I mean, Jerry
Jerry
Kramer.
That's another one.
Too.
Yeah, he made that block in the ice bowl to free Bart Starr up and get that sneak. That was his block that allowed Bart Starr to have that touchdown. So
a lot of great stuff,
that's another great shout out again. Yeah, there's so many great players.
There's so many.
It's hard to do a top 10, and we maybe might have to revisit this one of these days and maybe come up with their own top 10s. But I think they did a good job with the players that they put in. There'll probably be a couple for sure that I would probably take out. And it pains me, John, to no end to even be thinking about taking Reggie White out because of what he did to bring the glory back to the Packers. Absolutely. And we had a defense, John. We were good. We were really good.
Yeah,
and that was one of the reasons we won that Super Bowl in '96.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was definitely a main cog. On defense, it was him and Leroy Butler. Those two players, just stellar players. And, that would pain me to do it, but I would do it. I'd probably take him out of the top 10 if it were me. He'd definitely probably still in the top 15. But and then Paul Hornung. So
absolutely. So that was a great discussion. I love it. So let's wrap this episode up. We thought we were going to have a little mini-sode, but it's turned into a full episode because we love the Packers, and that's fine because I know you love them too out there. So Andy, wrap it up for us, buddy. What do you think?
Yeah. So for John and I, that was truly a mini-sode, but not really. It went about double or triple the time I thought it was going to go, John. But it's great discussions and everything. I'm glad I was able to redeem myself after the last Packers Blitz podcast, where I tried to explain the Rodgers trade compensation and called Mike LaFleur. John, that's Matt's brother, right?
Matt's brother.
Yeah. So sorry, Packer fans. I called him Mike LaFleur instead of Matt. Anyway, Packers fans, if you take anything from this Packers Blitz podcast today, make sure that you remember three things. Number one, Aaron Rodgers is Casper the not-so-friendly ghost. Number two, Aaron has torpedoed the Green Bay Packers and has sunk their battleship.
You sunk my battleship.
Number three, Don Hutson is supposedly the greatest Packers player of all time. A-Rod is a close second, a fantastic football player, one who I like to poke fun at. He does bring it upon himself, though. John and I will be doing our 31 picks for the NFL's first round mock draft next week before the NFL draft, which starts on Thursday night, April 27th, one day before John's birthday and one day before my oldest son's birthday, Zach. Yes. The NFL has 32 teams. However, the Miami Dolphins do not have a pick. They will not have a pick this year as punishment for tampering with Sean Payton and Tom Brady in numerous instances a few years back. We hate you, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady sucks.
We love you, Packer fans out there all over the world. I love you, buddy.
I love you too, buddy. This has been a great show again. Remember, hey, go on Spotify, rate us 5 stars, subscribe to us so you don't miss an episode. And hey, we're going to have our pick show coming up here next week, which I'm looking forward to. I love you, buddy. Have a great night. Go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.